implications for the region and the world. Help us in these few days to have the ceasefire in place, not the continuation of war. Life must prevail. Liberty must prevail. Peace must prevail. You are the mighty Security Council. Act, help us, and I thank you very much, Madam President.
And I thank the permanent observer. of the Observer State of Palestine for the statement, and I now give the floor to the representative of Israel.
Thank you, Madam President. We stand firm in our commitment to return the hostages and defeat Hamas, and it is time for the international community to take our commitment seriously. We will bring home every last hostage. Hamas has refused to release our hostages and repeatedly rejected all the offers, both by the US and the mediating countries, even for the period of Ramadan. And thus, the return to fighting is a necessity. The IDF is attacking targets of the Hamas terrorist organization to achieve our objectives. These precise attacks include Hamas terrorist commanders, terrorist cells, launch posts, weapon stockpiles, and additional military infrastructure that are being used by these terrorist organizations to continue to plan and execute attacks against Israeli civilians and IDF soldiers. However, we are drawn into a discussion today not to alleviate suffering, not to seek truth, but to indulge the political agenda of certain members of this Council. Those who wield humanitarian rhetoric and feign concern as a weapon, turning a blind eye to the primary cause of suffering in Gaza, the Hamas terrorist organization, which continues to hold 59 innocent hostages. For those truly concerned about humanitarian crises, there is one that should be paramount: the hostages still held in Hamas's brutal captivity. Men, women, children, the elderly, innocents ripped from their homes and subjected to horrors beyond comprehension. Many are already believed to be dead, while others continue to be tormented day after day. For over a year and 4 months, they have been deprived of sunlight, medical care, the comfort of their family's embrace. Their conditions are unknown, their treatment unimaginable. This is the most urgent humanitarian crisis, and yet those who claim to be the loudest voices for human rights have somehow lost their voices on this matter. So let us be clear: any discussion of humanitarian suffering that does not begin with the hostage release is not an honest discussion. For months, Israel took unprecedented steps to facilitate humanitarian aid into Gaza. Israel's war is against Hamas, not Gaza's civilians. And yet, despite our efforts, Hamas refuses every opportunity for peace. It refuses to release the hostages. Over a 6-week period between January and February alone, Israel facilitated the entry of an unprecedented amount of humanitarian aid into Gaza, over 25,000 aid trucks, averaging more than 4,200 trucks per week. These trucks carried food, medical supplies, and essential goods. This is not speculation, not political rhetoric. This is in fact documented, verifiable, and confirmed by the organizations distributing and supplying the aid. In addition to the thousands of aid trucks, bakeries are operational across Gaza, producing millions of loaves of bread daily. In northern Gaza alone, increased fuel deliveries resulted in a 40% increase in bakery output. The slander that the people of Gaza are currently starving is quite simply untrue. Fuel and gas deliveries also continued over this period. Nearly 1,000 fuel tankers entered Gaza, including 275 to the north. Claims that the electricity cutoff has plunged Gaza into humanitarian collapse are greatly exaggerated, particularly regarding water infrastructure. Water pipes and sewage repair materials were sent to northern Gaza, ensuring that infrastructure remains functional. During the same 6-week period, over 840,000 tents were delivered. This was a massive logistical undertaking supported by international partners and facilitated by Israel. Madam President, let us be very clear. If there is suffering in Gaza, it is not because of a lack of aid. It is because Hamas has hijacked an entire civilian population for its own violent ends. Hamas diverts food, Hamas hoards fuel, Hamas transforms hospitals, schools, and UN facilities into command centers, ensuring that even in the presence of humanitarian aid, suffering persists. But somehow, in the debates of this Council, Hamas is an afterthought, a footnote, a mere inconvenience in the preferred narrative. And so, instead of asking why Hamas continues to prolong this war, instead of asking why Hamas rejected a ceasefire extension that would have freed civilians from suffering, instead of asking why Hamas holds hostages in horrific conditions, instead of asking these questions, certain members choose instead to malign Israel, the only party in this conflict undertaking their humanitarian obligations and taking steps to meet them. Israel will not be lectured by those who exploit human suffering for political gain. If this Council wishes to address suffering, then it must demand the immediate and unconditional release of the hostages. There can be no progress until this occurs. There can be no relenting against the evil that we face. The massive amounts of humanitarian aid which Israel coordinated and facilitated, at least those amounts not seized by Hamas, have reached every segment of Gaza's population, with one tragic exception: the hostages. While Gazan civilians benefit from food, medicine, shelter, and support, these innocent individuals languish in conditions that defy human comprehension, a stark reminder of the vast moral inequivalence between Israel and Hamas. The release of the hostages is the first, the most urgent, the most fundamental step towards ending this war. The people of Gaza deserve a future free from Hamas and the pain that they wrought. The innocent Israelis wasting away in Hamas's tunnel network must once again feel the sun on their faces and embrace their loved ones. This is the only true path to peace. I thank you, Madam President.
I thank the representative of Israel for the statement. I now give the floor to His Excellency Mr. Majid Abdulaziz, Permanent Observer of the League of Arab States to the United Nations.
شكرا سيدة الرئيسة.
Thank you, Madam President. I'm honored to make this statement today on behalf of the League of Arab States and its member states. I would like to begin by expressing our appreciation for your excellent stewardship of the work of the Council and for positively responding to the request by the Arab Group, the League of Arab States and other member states to hold this meeting to promote international work through the Council to address Israel's resumption of its brutal military bombardment of Gaza and for the continued deterioration of the humanitarian situation in the Gaza Strip due to the continued restrictions by Israel on the entry of humanitarian assistance in the continuation of the policy of starvation and forced thirst that is internationally prohibited. We would like to express our appreciation to USG Fletcher for the important briefing and the constructive suggestions. Madam President, the Arab Summit in the Bahrain Declaration on the 16th of May 2024 has stressed, and this has been reaffirmed in the Cairo communique of the extraordinary Arab Summit that was held under the slogan the Palestine Summit on the 4th of March 2025. Both have condemned policies of starvation and scorched earth tactics aimed at forcing the Palestinian people to leave their land. The Cairo Summit condemned the Israeli government's recent decision to hold humanitarian aid to Gaza and close relief crossings. The summit also decided to reject Israel's use of blockade as a weapon and the starvation of civilians as a means to achieve political gain. It also stressed the utmost priority of the continuation of the implementation of the second and third phases of the ceasefire agreement. All this, Madam President, stresses the crucial link between the comprehensive and full ceasefire in accordance with the agreement based on the US, Qatari, and Egyptian mediation, and to allow the entry of humanitarian assistance without interruption and in big volumes, as well as starting the implementation of the first phase of the plan proposed by Egypt in full coordination with the State of Palestine and Arab states, and based on studies that were conducted by the World Bank and the UNDP on early recovery and the reconstruction of the Gaza Strip. This plan was adopted by the Cairo summit as a pan-Arab plan, and it was also adopted by the ministerial meeting of the OIC at a later point in time. The Israeli war on Gaza of more than 470 days have killed more than 48,000 Palestinians, including 18,000 children and 13,000 women. And it almost completely destroyed health and educational and infrastructure facilities and all necessities of life in Gaza. The resumption of the brutal military intensive bombardment of the Gaza Strip and the killing of more than 400 Gazans in Gaza yesterday, and Israel's intensification of the policy of blockade and starvation on the Gaza Strip, and the most recent of which was the decision by the Israeli Ministry of Power to cut the power supply to the vital sectors, including the main desalination water plant. This has added forced thirst to starvation. It aggravates the suffering of more than 2 million Palestinians living in unbearable conditions. These attacks and measures are inhumane, condemned, and unacceptable. They are nothing but collective punishment by Israel, perpetrated by Israel against the defenseless Palestinian people, which runs counter to humanitarian principles and values, which constitute the very foundation and mission of this organization. This is a challenge to the international will that has supported the ceasefire. In light of the deterioration of this crisis and Israel's resumption of its intensive military bombardment in Gaza yesterday, the Arab group stresses that the Council needs to shoulder its responsibility this time and to compel Israel to honor its obligations under the ceasefire agreement, including opening all crossings to humanitarian aid and the delivery of medical and fuel items and shelter items, and to restore electricity to the entirety of the Strip, including the water plants, and to meet the basic needs of the people and to alleviate their suffering. The group warns against the Council not taking such measures, which ushers in a catastrophic human disaster with unpredictable consequences. The Arab group and the League of Arab States stresses that the continuation of this crisis and the obstruction of delivery of aid or preventing aid from getting in is a major and a grave violation of Israel's obligations as the occupying power under the international law, UN resolutions, and the rules of human rights, and the Fourth Geneva Convention of 1949, and the advisory opinion of the ICG issued in July 2024, and the provisional measures of the ICJ as well, and all the resolutions adopted by the Security Council and the GA based on the ICJ measures and orders. The group and the League stress that the Council needs to activate international oversight mechanisms to guarantee the delivery of aid safely and in a sustainable manner to all Palestinians in need. There needs to be a promotion of international efforts to ensure the protection of civilian Palestinians and to meet their basic needs immediately and effectively. We stress in this regard the central humanitarian role of UNRWA in Gaza, which cannot be replaced by any other entity. We stress the importance of the continued work of UNRWA to provide its vital services to Palestine refugees according to its UN mandate. Madam President, the Arab group commends the tireless efforts spearheaded by Qatar, Egypt, and the US to reach a ceasefire agreement in Gaza, including the release of detainees and hostages. We stress the need for the Council to exercise utmost pressure on Israel to end its military aggression that was resumed yesterday and to complete the implementation of the ceasefire agreement, including the second and third phases and all its elements. This would lead to reaching a permanent end of the aggression on Gaza and Israel's full withdrawal from the Strip, and to facilitate the return of Gazans to the areas of residence, including in the north, in line with Security Council resolutions, most notably Resolution 2735. The group and the League stress the need to build on those efforts to begin the implementation of the Arab Early Recovery and Reconstruction Plan. We commend the efforts of Egypt and the State of Palestine to prepare for an international conference on reconstruction in cooperation with the UN, which will be hosted by Cairo very soon. And we urge our international community partners and IFIs to provide all financial and political support to ensure the implementation of this ambitious plan by Palestinian lands towards the rehabilitation and reconstruction of the Strip at the desired pace. We stress the importance that this plan would coincide with international effort towards sustainable peace and lasting peace, to protect the rights of the Palestinian people and to achieve their aspirations in freedom and statehood, and joining the UN as a full-fledged member, and the effort to make the international conference that will be held in June 2025 under the French-Saudi presidency a success as part of the two-state initiative effort that is receiving mounting international support every day. In closing, the Arab Group and the League of Arab States reaffirms their full solidarity with the Palestinian people and their strong support to its historic steadfastness on its land as it adheres to its land and refuses to be forcibly displaced. We stress that continued military operations, siege, starvation, forced thirst, oppressive measures perpetrated by Israel will only lead to further deterioration of the humanitarian and security situation, threatening the security of the entire region. We reiterate that the only solution to this conflict is by ending the Israeli occupation, guaranteeing the right of the Palestinian people to self-determination and the establishment of their independent, sovereign state with East Jerusalem as its capital on the basis of the two-state solution and the Arab Peace Initiative, and the State of Palestine joining as a full-fledged member of the United Nations. I thank you, Madam President.
I thank His Excellency Mr. Abdulaziz for the statement. The representative of the United States has asked for the floor to make a further statement. I give them the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. I couldn't help but notice that some of the behavior during this meeting, including departing from the chamber and leaving a seat vacant while the representative of Israel was speaking under Rule 37, is inconsistent with the decorum that we expect in this chamber, and I just wanted to register that. I thank you.
And I thank the United States, the representative of the United States, for the statement. There are no more names inscribed on the list of speakers. The meeting is adjourned.